right, this is Radell Sports Network. We figured we'd jump on the train of the brothers who played sports podcast trend. We have Peyton and Eli doing the Manning cast. We have the Kelsey brothers doing their thing. I just found out the Long brothers do one, Chris and Kyle Long.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, we're here. We're on it. Rashard Mendenhall's pissed about it, but we're going to keep moving. So we're going to start with the NFL recaps. These are kind of be quickish hits. We got some notes here, but we're going to run through these, and then we have 3 games of the week, which we're going to spend a little bit more time on. And we are going to start with
Thursday night football. Chargers 21, Vegas 63. Raiders now 6-8, Chargers 5-9. This Chargers team is a beat down, uninspired team. It was 42-0 at halftime. The defensive intensity from Las Vegas, it's unmatched. Max Crosby, he does this thing where after the play's over, after they throw the ball, he'll give you a shoulder check. He gives the quarterback a shoulder, like, I'm right there.
Yeah,
right there.
Let him know you were there.
Yeah. I mean, they had Jacoby Myers throwing a touchdown. This was a fun game for them. Brandon Staley fired after this game. Such a bad loss.
Chargers, I say it time and time again how disappointing this team is. Way too much skill, especially getting beat like that by the Raiders. The Raiders are not good either. I don't know, just embarrassing. They need to do better. They definitely need to do something.
You had Josh Jacobs out of this game as well, and they still put up these big numbers. One of your best top guys.
for me, Max Crosby seems like a dude who, before maybe every drive, gets those smelling salts and cracks them. The dude is like endless energy. Love him. Love to see it. And yeah, the defense, like, say what you will about that offensive performance against the Vikings, but the defense looked good again. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to say a team that gave up 21 was good defensively, but you dropped 63, so the offense on the other side gets a lot more opportunities. So, remaining schedule for the Chargers, even though it doesn't really matter, Buffalo at Denver, home against Kansas City, and Vegas has at Kansas City, at Indy, and home against Denver. So, a couple division games for each.
All right, Saturday game, Indianapolis 30, Pitt 13. It was a good game. Minshew 18 of 28 for 215, 3 touchdowns. Big news was the huge hit on Pittman. DeMonte Casey suspended for the rest of the year. Nasty hit. I can't believe Pittman got up. It was disgusting. Steelers lose their 3rd straight. Glad they're out of the playoffs. Well, not out, but looking in. Colts remaining schedule: Atlanta, Las Vegas, and Houston. Pitt has Cincinnati, and then at Seattle and at Baltimore.
That schedule for Pitt tells me they are not going to be in the playoffs. So I had this little note here. Pitt has a negative 57-point differential for the season, showing just how bad they've been, even though they've squeaked by everything. They led 13-0, which this game I was kind of in and out of. It was like I was high or something, because it's like, how is this game on primetime? And last thing, Indy is in a 3-way tie at 8-6 for the AFC South lead, which is wild because we thought Jacksonville was running away with it. I claimed last week, you guys didn't hear it, but I claimed that this was going to be the game of the week. I was wrong. I apologize. I need to do like one of those YouTube apology things where I pretend how sad I was or whatever. Denver 17, Detroit 42. Denver falls to 7-7. We thought after that 5-game win streak, we're like, okay, this team has the right trajectory going, and it has fallen off. So Denver's 7-7. They had 0 points in the first half, while Detroit put up 21, and that was all she wrote. Detroit's now 10-4 in a 3-way tie for second best record in the NFC, because Dallas and Philly both lost. Now, Detroit doesn't have the tiebreaker yet, but even if all the teams win, I think Philly gets the 2 seed, which is important because you would want to play in Detroit versus at Philly or at Dallas, but either way. Goff 278 and 5 touchdowns. And more importantly, Gibbs had 100 yards on only 11 carries. That is quite the production. Montgomery 85. Amon-Ra had like 12 catches for a $140 in that range, and Sam Laporta with 3 touchdown catches. Detroit, as I said, had a 21-point second quarter and never looked in the rearview mirror. Denver was never in this game. So Detroit's remaining schedule: at Minnesota, at Dallas, and home versus Minnesota. So what Detroit needs is Philly to lose 1, and if Detroit wins out, they're the 2 seed. Nobody's catching San Francisco. Now, this Denver schedule, they could end up 10-7. Home versus New England, home versus the Chargers. Those should be 2 wins. And at Las Vegas.
Preseason, I picked Detroit. Picked Detroit to make it to the NFC Championship. And this is the Detroit team I thought I would see. And it's just good to see they're clicking right now. Good time for it.
Do you think they win do you think that they get the 2 seed based on that schedule?
I don't. I think they beat Minnesota. They're going to lose to Minnesota, and then they're going to lose to Dallas. They're going to lose a close one to Dallas.
All right. Giants 6, New Orleans 24, at New Orleans 24. Derek Carr threw to 10 receivers. He was sharing the ball. He looked good. Jimmy Graham, third week in a row with a touchdown. He might be back. Waller came back from injury. I mean, DeVito looks good. He was fearless out there. Fearless passing, fearless running. He does have trouble reading defenses, but over time should develop the skills. Saints defense looked good, 7 sacks. Their remaining schedule: Giants at Philly, versus Rams, versus Philly, New Orleans at Rams, at Tampa Bay versus Atlanta. New Orleans 7-7. They're keeping pace with Tampa Bay, so we'll see how that plays out for the playoffs.
That Giants schedule is looking rough right now. My goodness. But yeah, I don't have anything on this game. You expected New Orleans to win. I didn't really expect them to just hammer them like that. Even though it was in New Orleans, and you got to trust, they're kind of in the same air as Jets and Browns. When it's in New Orleans, that stadium's a whole different scenario. But
yeah, Tampa Bay 34, Green Bay 20. I was hoping Green Bay needed this game. Baker 22 for 28, 381 with 4 touchdowns. He just torched him. Godwin 10 receptions, 155 yards. Tampa Bay 7-7 keeps pace with New Orleans for the division lead. Green Bay really needed it. They're in trouble. Their rookies showed some signs. Wicks 6 receptions, 97 yards. Love 29-39, 284 and 2 touchdowns. They're done though. They blew it.
So I put in here the playoff scenario for Green Bay. So we were high on the horse after I forgot who they beat, but now they've lost 2 straight. And
I remember who they beat. They beat Kansas City. How could I forget?
Hammered Kansas City by double digits. And now they put themselves in a weird scenario to reach the playoffs. So they obviously have to win out. They need Detroit to beat Minnesota one of the 2 games, which is very possible. They need Atlanta to lose a game, New Orleans to lose a game, and Rams to lose a game. It's still in reach. That it seems like a lot of things, but those are all things, especially New Orleans has Tampa coming up. So you're a big Tampa fan when that happens. The thing in your favor is they have Chicago at home. So
yeah, true.
And then Tampa has Jacksonville, New Orleans, and then Carolina. So they got a couple rough ones coming up, but
Somebody's going to wind up, they're going to need that win, and they're going to wind up losing to Carolina. Watch.
I don't like how you guys are so down on Green Bay. Can we give some props to my boy Baker Mayfield or what?
Oh, he definitely
Come on now.
lit it up.
yeah, one thing you're going to learn, listen to this podcast, Darren and I are huge Will Levis fans, and this is a Baker Mayfield house. We all love Baker, so we're rooting for that cocky mother effer. All right. I drew the short straw on this one. Atlanta 7, Carolina 9.
You know what's funny? Let me pause you. You know what's funny is I was going to text you. I don't want the Carolina game. But I was like, you know what? If fate makes it fall in my lap, I'll take it. But I'm glad it didn't.
So what happened was, like, I typically, like when I'm setting it up, I want the rotation to be I get Philly, Dave gets Green Bay, Derek gets Saints, and then however it falls on the list is how we get it after that. So Carolina moves up to 2-12, their second win of the season. Atlanta drops to 6-8. It was rainy and miserable the whole game, but not just for the players. It was miserable for anyone who put their eyes on this. This was a rough watch, but luckily for the Carolina locals, nobody showed up to the damn game. If you guys check on X, there's a bunch of images out there of the actual attendance, and should be on screen right now. This was the stadium not on a Wednesday. This was the stadium during the third quarter of the Panthers and Falcons. And the Panthers were held out of the end zone, of course, but they did get 3 field goals. The Panthers actually, this is really hard to just say out loud, but the Panthers outgained the Falcons by almost 80 yards and a couple of turnovers. It was a brutal one. So if anyone cares, I don't think Falcons fans or Panthers fans care at this point. If you were a Falcons fan, like some of these tickets...
Those tickets are expensive. They weren't for that game. I'm trying to go on Christmas Eve.
Oh, for the Panthers?
Yeah, they're like $190 for, third row or something. They're up there. Well, Green Bay's going there. That must be what's drawing the crowd. Because somebody told me, oh, it was you. Somebody else told me 45 cents per ticket.
It's actually 35 cents for tickets, yeah.
That's awesome.
So 325 miles, you don't even want to travel on the road for 35-cent tickets to see your team lose to the worst team in the league. So the thing that bothers me about NFL tickets, if they would cut the ticket prices by $100 in general across the board, stadiums would be louder, they would be more fun. You're pricing out the people who make the game more interesting. The NFL does all these things where they're like, oh, we're trying to get in the younger audience. How in the hell are you going to get a younger audience to afford this shit?
Well, I looked up the Green Bay tickets. They were $400. You're almost out of the stadium. It's unreal. You go with 3 people, $1,200.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I can't
do Philly. What was Philly? 3 something a piece.
But it's a good thing that the tickets were expensive for that one, because we would have done Philly versus San Francisco. I don't want to watch that. Atlanta has Indy at Chicago at New Orleans, and Carolina has Green Bay, Jacksonville, and Tampa. So Carolina, in theory, should be 2-15 by the end of this.
All right, so we got New York Jets at Miami. Jets 0, Miami 30. So no Tyreek Hill this game. You would think it'd be a little closer. No. Tyreek out with an ankle injury. Waddle balled out, 142 yards and a touchdown. The run game, Mostert sets a new franchise record for the most touchdowns in a season with 20. Tua went for 21 for 24 with his quick passes.
I thought that said dick passes for some reason.
Yeah, I'm not big on Tua. I don't know. Dolphins defense show up again, same as last week. Only allowing 103 total yards for the Jets. Zach Wilson exits second quarter with a head injury. Jets offense just couldn't stay on the field. So defense constantly coming back out, can't get any rest. So I think there isn't a quarterback who can fit this role and be successful. And not only me who thinks that, I think Aaron Rodgers thinks that. He officially announced he is not coming back after he sees this dog shit freaking Jets team. What do you guys think about that? Anybody can go in this role and be successful. You think Aaron can? Their offensive line is horrible. He would be running.
Green Bay's offensive line.
He tears up other Achilles.
Green Bay's offensive line has been bad for years. Rodgers, he's just that dude. You got Garrett Wilson to throw into him. Kid'll turn into a star quick. Rodgers isn't coming back because they're out of the playoffs. If they had a shot, his hard-headed butt would be definitely coming back.
Now, are we talking about the Rodgers today, or are we talking about the Rodgers 2 years ago?
You give him a weapon. He's got a good defense, so you give him a weapon to get him some points. They'll do some damage. I'm not saying they're going to be, a 2-loss team, but they'll be right in the mix. But this is just Miami beating up on another subpar team.
Now I got a question. If Aaron Rodgers said, "Okay, I tore my Achilles. I'm not coming back until next year," would the Jets have made a move for a better quarterback? Do you think he actually? It's a downfall that he said, "Oh, I'm coming back. I'm coming back."
Well, that's how Rodgers has been his whole career. That's why it was so unfair to Green Bay, and I didn't want him to leave Green Bay, but that's why they got rid of him, because it's just so unfair. He's done this time and time and time again. It's always about him. It's always been.
So it hurt the Jets that he's like that. Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, not that Jets probably wouldn't have gone out and got somebody, probably not. But another thing I want to say is Miami. This is a part of the schedule that I wanted to see. Dallas, Baltimore, Buffalo. They're playing 3 really good teams, and I want to see them go 0-3, because that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, because this is going to be their test right here. This last stretch is their test. Are you a real playoff team? Are you a legit Super Bowl team or not?
No more Panthers, no more Jets. You got the big boys now. Let's see what you do.
My question would be, let's take Dare's theory of Rodgers like kind of screwing over the Jets unintentionally. Who would they have gotten to make this team look even decent? Because the Jets have a long history, we're going to talk about this in Cash or Trash, of terrible quarterback play. No matter who it is, no matter what they do, the quarterbacks are mediocre at best, except Joe Namath one time and Fitzpatrick one time. So who would you get that would be better than Zach Wilson, and I put in quotes?
I mean, I guess I got to say who was available. Dobbs, Flacco, Wentz.
If Flacco went to the Jets, he would have been getting hammered. The Browns' offensive line is top 5, so that's why he can actually do something.
That's fair.
If they could have gotten, somebody like Dave said, Lamar Jackson, if they would have signed him in the offseason, sure. But I don't think the Jets. I think if Aaron Rodgers next year, you know what they should do for him is release him and let him go play for the Browns or the oh my God, if he played for the Saints. I like Derek Carr. He just isn't consistent for me.
I've always liked Carr. He just finds ways to lose. I always like him. He's my Matt Stafford.
What team, oh my God, I'm not going to say it, but I'm thinking it. If Aaron Rodgers went to Philly, we'd be on the fucking Dream Street.
It's mine? Oh God, this game was a lot closer than it should have been. I don't know. It's Mahomes. They drive me nuts. Tony dropped down their ball, basically handed it to the defender. Mahomes 27-37, 305, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick belongs to Tony. Rashee Rice, actually one of their bright spots, 9 receptions, 91 yards. New England's just bad, but this game should definitely not even been that close. AC needs to just start stomping people again. I don't know what's going on. Well, I do know what's going on. Their guys can't catch a damn ball.
You say Tony got an interception, like he passed the ball?
Oh, it hit Tony right in the numbers. He tipped it 3 times and then handed it to the defender. He was like, "Here, I don't want to catch this."
Jesus.
Yeah, again. But Mahomes, he's starting to drive me nuts with the crybaby thing. He's over there pouting. You never do that. You're a leader of a team. You never do that in front of everybody. You did it over the offsides call where Tony was offsides by 7 yards. You did it again. You know what I mean? Stop being a baby and play the damn game. It happens. You talk to your management to get you somebody who can catch the ball.
This is part of the reason why the NBA is hard to watch, because every call is crying every time that this crossover happens. It's not good for football. So Rashee Rice is actually emerging as one of their top receivers, which they need. Yeah, they need somebody to step up. I think he's on pace for 1,000 yards this year. He's not a one receiver.
He's their top receiver because there ain't many choices. I'm surprised because I thought Tony was going to fit in good there. He was decent in Giants in New York. I thought he was going to fit in good there. I thought he was going to eat.
I did too. And wasn't there a last play where the Chiefs kneeled down the ball? They could have had a touchdown at the end, so this game would have been 35.
It just felt a lot closer. I think it was 10-7 or something, almost right before the head. It just felt really close.
With this team struggling with a team like New Orleans, I mean, what do you see for that, or is that just
this team can lose anytime? They get in the playoffs. They can lose anytime. I mean, I still can't go against them. I told you he's my Tom Brady. Mahomes in the playoffs. I got to ride with him, but This team can lose any time to anybody.
To me, Tom Brady wasn't as much of a bitch as Patrick Mahomes. But
True.
27-17 was the final, and KC's 9-5. They have an outside shot at a first round bye. But the only reason that I say they have a shot is Baltimore's schedule coming up, and we'll get to that in a minute, is pretty rough. And Kansas City, I mean, they have one tough game, but they're home against Vegas, home against Cincinnati, which should be a good one, and at Chargers. I almost called them Clippers. Might as well be. And New England has Denver, Buffalo, and the Jets, but those will probably be all losses so that they can get their first overall pick. All right, next up we have Houston at Tennessee. Houston is now in a 3-way tie with the Colts and the Jags for the division lead. Right now, with all the tiebreakers, the Jags are top, but we'll see. So Tennessee is officially eliminated from the playoffs at 5-9. It was a 19-16. For this, my biggest takeaway was poor Will Levis. The dude is, I mean, he's not that poor because he's getting paid an NFL contract, but the dude's getting smacked around like freaking Susan from I can't remember the name of the movie now. What was it? Blank Man?
Oh, yeah.
Slap me around, call me Susan.
Yeah.
That is Will Levis. The dude, it was 16-16. Tennessee had the ball, and it was really hard to watch because he dropped back, and before he could even hand the ball off to Henry, they were in the backfield on top of Henry. So I don't know what happened to the offensive line because that was like one of their strong suits. It was hard to watch. Tennessee's defense actually looked pretty good. Houston looks solid with Case Keenum. He'll be there one more week at least, but we'll see. Remaining schedule, Houston has home against Cleveland and Tennessee, which will be a couple of tough games, and at Indy. So 3 tough games actually, because Tennessee's not really a slouch, even though they're not very good. And Tennessee has home against Seattle, at Houston, and home against Jacksonville, with nothing to play for but pride at this point.
Why does Tennessee seem like they give every defense that plays them looks good? It all starts with that offensive line. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing. The play action was working last week. I'm not really sure how play action went this week. Not good. No. So we got San Fran at Arizona. San Fran 45, Arizona 29. I mean, it's the same old story. San Fran outplays Cardinals. Purdy 242, 4 touchdowns. McCaffrey 187 yards,
Jeez.
3 touchdowns, absolutely balling. Murray 211, 1 touchdown, throws 2 interceptions. I mean, the Cardinals look good. They look like a good team. There was a couple turnovers. They kept right up with San Fran, but those turnovers killed them, and San Fran capitalizes. San Fran's remaining schedule: Baltimore, at Washington, versus the Rams. Arizona at Chicago, at Philly, versus Seahawks.
I made a comment last segment we did, and it was about Purdy with his yards after catch. Now, you know, out of the last 3 MVPs, you know that he's the lowest yards after catch. He has the lowest. He's under Rodgers twice, and who was the other one? Who won it in between Rodgers or right after Rodgers? Mahomes, probably. He was the lowest by about 8%. I couldn't believe it. I thought all of his yards were after catch. Arizona actually hung in this game. I thought it was going to be a wax, and I mean it did turn into it, but they actually hung around for a minute. I was pretty impressed. But San Francisco too big. They're just running it right now.
Yeah, it's just like with Seattle last week. They hung around for a while, and then just San Francisco is too much after a while. Seattle came out firing, Arizona came out firing, and they were pretty impressive, but it's just too much. Yeah.
That's what their game plan was. Come out. It's going to be a shootout. Throw a couple picks.
They can run,
Turnovers.
throw the pass,
Yeah.
just every side, defense, everything. I mean, they're nasty. It's gonna take somebody hot to beat them. Got Rams 31, Washington 10, Stafford 25 of 33, 258, 2 touchdowns. These guys look really good right now. Up's back, 8 receptions, 111 yards, and a touchdown. Kyron Williams, my man, 131 and a touchdown. They're the 7th seed right now. And Howell was replaced. Brissett came in, drove it down the field, got a touchdown. Brissett looked all right. McLaurin was shining, 6 receptions, 141 yards, touchdown. What do they got? We got Rams at Jets versus San Fran, and then versus Dallas. Damn, they could drop 2 or 3. Oh, is it? Oh, I see it there. Oh, they got New Orleans at Giants at San Fran.
Yeah, I don't have much to say on this game. I thought that it was pretty strange that prior to the season, people weren't giving the Rams much of a chance, but they're not that much different from the Super Bowl team they had a few years ago. So
they're catching fire right now.
Yeah, and Puka Nakua showing out. The combo of Cup and Nakua is pretty hilariously good because there was one point where they showed the warm-ups between Cup and Nakua doing the cone drills, and the difference in footwork between the two. Cup's footwork is just it is out of this world, but Nakua is very, very efficient, and the dude just sells out on every play. I love this guy. So he's a star in the making
last week
for sure.
The week before, he complete extension laid out for one. Yep. It's just nasty.
Imagine if this team had Stafford to start the season, where they would be. Because he's the biggest factor of this team. Without Stafford, this team can't win games.
Yeah, you had a banged up Cup, and they just looked a little flat, but they're rolling now. They definitely look like Dan said, the Rams of last year.
Winning 4 out of 5. They're definitely going to win the next 2. San Fran, I'm not sure about.
Or was it Super Bowl year, not last
year? Yeah. So next up, we have Dallas at Buffalo.
I love it.
My joke is it didn't make air, so it's going to be here. So Dallas at Buffalo. Dallas 10, Buffalo 31. It was not as close as the score said. Dallas had 1 garbage time touchdown with like 3 minutes left to CeeDee Lamb, greatest receiver of all time. Rico Dowdle had 3 carries for 4 yards and 2 catches for 8. That was the important part of Dallas's game. So Dallas is 3-4 on the road and 7-0 at home. If Philly and Dallas both win out, Philly wins the NFC East due to tiebreakers. And I was trying to figure out what the tiebreaker was. I was going down the list, and it reaches the 4th level, which is strength of opponent. Dallas's loss to Arizona in the beginning of the year is the difference at this point. So we'll see what happens. And based on that, it's important for the Cowboys to host the playoff game.
Oh, yeah.
They have an outside shot if some lower seeds win. Then they would like host the 6 versus 7 game or the 5-6, whatever. But it's very important based on that 7-0 home schedule. So everyone in the world except in Texas is rooting for the Eagles. Buffalo dominated every aspect except Josh Allen. If you would have shown me these stats and said this was the end of the game for Josh Allen, I would have thought the score was flipped. Allen 7 of 15 for 94 yards. He had 1 touch, 1 passing, 1 rushing. And Cook, don't call me Dalvin Cook, 25 carries for 179. He also caught Josh Allen's only touchdown with 2 catches for 42 yards. This dude, Dave said this on multiple occasions, so I'll probably leave it for him, but you don't have to rely on Josh Allen 100%. You have to rely on him, though. This kind of game where he's 7 of 15 for 94 isn't going to get it done all the time. Unless Cook goes off like this. And my question to you guys before I throw it over is, who are the Bills? They lose games to the Broncos. They blow a lead against Philly. They should have beaten Philly, KC, and Dallas back to back to back. But who is this team? I guess Daryl, throw it to you first.
This team, it's a roller coaster. Now, usually, most games this year, Josh Allen's sitting on the bench when he loses. He does his part. The defense can't close. They're definitely not a running team. This team is about Josh Allen. This is a rare occasion. I doubt this is going to happen again this season. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs because it's how much of a roller coaster they are. It's a hit or miss on how good they're going to play.
I think it was a brilliant formula. You don't put the pressure on Allen to have to be the guy. Let somebody else be the guy. And when he needs to do his couple little plays, he did it. You don't give him a chance to throw that pick that he always forces in for no reason. I think it's a brilliant formula. take it off. You're obviously relying on Allen. He's your guy, but take some pressure off him. The guy he doesn't have to do it all every single game.
Now, teams going to this game with the game plan. Allen is the guy.
Yeah.
We got to watch Allen. We got to
Absolutely.
cover if he sneaks out quarterback sneak.
Yeah.
They didn't expect this. I don't think anybody expected this.
No, and Dallas's running defense is horrible. I think you're going to get more. So Cook 27 touches. Maybe he's down to 20 next game, but he needs to have, I would say, 17 to 20 touches to balance it out. And then Allen only throwing 15 passes. You get him up to like the mid 20s. You get Cook around the 20s, and then you have a balanced attack. Because this isn't really the way to just consistently win, but you got to have this balance so that people aren't just waiting on Josh Allen to throw a pick. They're like, oh, they have a dude back there who can run the rock. So.
And Bill's defense was in Dak's face, and I mean they just ran it right down their throat. It was great on the Bills. If they can keep playing like this, they're rolling. They're going to be trouble.
And Buffalo's remaining schedule at Chargers, home versus New England, who they lost to earlier in the year, and at Miami.
They're winning all three of them.
Yeah. And Dallas has at Miami, home against Detroit, so 2 tough games back to back, and then a sleeper against Washington. All right, Sunday Night Football.
Sunday Night Football, Baltimore at Jacksonville. Baltimore 23, Jacksonville 7. Jacksonville, they had a lot of missteps. 2 missed field goals. Trevor Lawrence fumbles inside the 20. Poor clock management at the end of the first half. At the end of the game, they had to force to go on 4th down. Don't get it. So now, if they were to kick a field, make the field goal, kick those field goals each time that they had a bad decision, we'll say, they would have had 15 points, and still would have lost by 1. They weren't winning this game regardless. Baltimore was all over it. Lamar Jackson's awareness, you got rushers coming in. I mean, he's all over the place. He's not getting touched. Oh, Keaton Mitchell, ACL tear. I mean, this kid, he was emerging as a big threat on this team. Baltimore with these injuries, another one. They clinched their playoff spot. They're the first AFC team to do that. Baltimore's remaining schedule at San Fran versus Miami versus Pitt, Jacksonville at Tampa Bay versus Miami versus Pitt.
You had a chance to be in the NFL, and they offered you a running back contract for the Ravens. Would you take it?
My chances of getting injured.
J.K. Dobbins gone, Mitchell gone. Yeah, that's the only problem with this team. There is a run game. I don't think their run game's all that unless it's Lamar. But besides that, this team's ready. They're ready for the playoffs.
If you have a strong stomach, go and watch that Mitchell injury, because I didn't see it happen. I was watching this game and like, oh man, dude's down. He straight flamingos his leg. So if you don't want to watch it, just Google a flamingo. Yeah, it was pretty nasty. So the field goals didn't really affect the outcome in terms of the score, but how deflating is it to drive down the field twice and come up empty? It's tough.
Last time was on the 1 or something when he
did that
pass in bounds with a couple seconds left. You get a touchdown there, it changes everything.
It's just mentally deflating, and the Jags are on the ropes here, and they're again in a 3-way tie, top of the AFC South, and they currently hold the tiebreakers, but this is going south quick, no pun intended. All right, time for our games of the week. So we have Minnesota, Cincinnati, we have Chicago and Cleveland, and we have Philly, Seattle.
Minnesota 24, Cincinnati 27. This was a great game. I watched all this game. I love this. You know how I feel about my man Browning. Browning 29 of 42, 324, 2 touchdowns, interception. Higgins 4 receptions, 61 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chase AC joint sprain. That's going to really hurt if he can't get back on the field. And Mullins, you called it last week, Dan. Mullins, 26 of 33, 303, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. And Ty Chandler, forget it. If this kid can run like this every week, oh my God. 23 rushes, 132 yards and a touchdown. Addison keeps being Addison. He's their next stud. 6 receptions, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Minnesota's got, is that Minnesota? With Detroit, Green Bay, Detroit. And then you got Cincinnati's got Pitt, AC, and Cleveland. 3 tough games.
Now, this Bengals defense showed no resistance. I mean, you praised Jake Browning, but it wasn't a good game for him. It really wasn't. I don't care what the numbers say. I mean, Vikings are having fun out there. They're having Justin Jefferson throwing the ball.
For the first 3 quarters, I would say Jake Browning had a bad game, but once the fourth hit, because it was, 17-7 after 3, right?
Yeah, okay, so fourth quarter he picked it up. But...
And he kept his cool. That's the main thing. He kept his cool, looked like a seasoned vet out there, and he did his thing. I like this kid, and I like him calling out Vikings for cutting him, too. I love it.
Yeah, Vikings got a good little stud there in Nick Mullins, though. This dude, he just like Dare was saying earlier about Jake, what's his name? Davey, what the fuck's his name? Tommy DeVito?
Yeah. No, it's Tommy Cutlets.
Yeah. Dude has no fear, and Mullins looks pretty decent, so
I got a question for you. Now, would you rather have your quarterback get big numbers, big touchdowns, look great, or you only care about the win?
All about the win. 100%.
Quarterback wins guy right here.
Yeah. All about the wins.
yeah, I agree.
Really?
I would rather have my guy get the victory. But
I mean, Cincinnati's a team, too. They can hit you from any side. I mean, they can run the ball down your throat all day. They can pass. They can do whatever they want to you. It's a good team.
okay, so would you rather right now have been Dak, or would you rather have been Nick Mullet or Josh Allen? You know what I'm saying? Josh Allen did basically nothing.
Yeah.
Well, Dak didn't do anything either, so it's not really. All right, let's move on to Cleveland.
Chicago at Cleveland. Chicago 17, Cleveland 20. Now, this was a backyard football type game. Both teams played sloppy. 13 penalties between the teams. 5 fumbles, 5 interceptions, 19 punts. And 2 of them were muffed. Defense got 7 sacks, 16 tackles for loss. Holy shit. Flacco was accurate on downfield balls, tight windows. Njoku, 10 receptions, 104 yards. Flacco's favorite target.
Yeah, I got him in fantasy. He's starting as a flex this week. Yep.
Fields goes only for 166 yards. Fields gets a chance to win the game by throwing a Hail Mary at the end of when the clock was expiring, right into the arms of Darnell Mooney, who bobbles it right into the Browns defender for an interception to end the game. Browns need to win their next game to guarantee a playoff spot. Really, any one of the next 3 games, but the Houston, if they beat Houston, they're guaranteed in the playoffs. Their remaining schedule: Houston versus Jets at Cincy, Chicago versus Arizona versus Atlanta at Green Bay.
Chicago has an outside chance to make the playoffs. They had, so I was checking them all out, and it is a very long list of things that need to happen. So we're just gonna skip over that. But Flacco having 212 yards in the fourth quarter was quite the stat that I didn't realize. Flacco's 212 in the fourth to Fields going for 166 overall. Pretty impressive for Joey Flax.
Might have just earned himself a job next year.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. The dude's a stud. Like, I mean, we known this, but
Okay, so Flacco just signs a new contract. Makes $75,000 per game. If he had advanced to the postseason, would make $250,000 for a wild card win, $500,000 for divisional playoff win, $1 million for AFC Championship game win, and $2 million for a Super Bowl win. Not too bad.
if Flacco takes the Browns to their first Super Bowl and wins the Browns' first Super Bowl, he's going to get a lot more than $2 million. He's going to be on every billboard, he's going to be the face of the city. They're going to give him, I don't know, maybe the mayor's wife or something. It's going down if Flacco and the Browns win the freaking Super Bowl. I'll be stunned. On our most recent our preseason episode, I was saying that they should sign Nick Foles as a backup, not to come in and compete with Flacco, but as a backup. The dude has experience. They're very similar in style as well. Flacco's better, okay, across the board. But you need to get a backup in there based on how this season was going, because you don't want to ruin this. If you're the Browns, you got something going.
I mean, they definitely have something going. You got Nick Chubb that goes out early. You got how many quarterbacks go out early, and you're still going to the playoffs? I mean, you definitely got something.
Your big contract sitting at home, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, what a fucking bust. All
I
right,
thought he was going to be good.
yeah. If you look at Watson's stats, by the way, before he went out, he only had like 1,000 passing yards, so he wasn't even. Please check this. See who has more passing yards on the season between Flacco and
Wilson
and Watson. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Wilson.
No, like Watson only has 1,000 passing yards, I think, and 7 touchdowns.
They thought they were getting Texans Watson.
Yeah.
Texans Watson was disgusting.
Well, see, when you're getting happy endings every day, you can play loose. They stopped the happy endings, and now he sucks.
Watson this year has 1,115 yards, seven touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
And Joe Flacco has 939 yards in fewer games and 7 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So, yeah, good for Watson.
You know,
Was he getting paid $200 million less?
you know what Watson reminds me of? You know the movie Replacements? When the guy crosses the line back over and starts playing again and just throws the ball and goes sit back on the bench? That's what he was doing. He was just like, you know what? I got a headache today. I'm going to go sit down.
Replacements, best sports movie. I stand by that. I think this is hilarious, too. I mean, he fleeced the Browns for $250 million. Every single penny was guaranteed. So, good for him, I guess. All right, our last game of the week. My favorite game. No, second favorite game behind Dallas. And I told you guys this, if Seattle was going to win straight up, didn't I?
Without Geno, too? Man.
No. I texted you. I fucking texted you. And I said, should I pull my bet? And you said no.
What did I say?
No, I said no. I didn't say
Did
no.
you say no?
No, Dan didn't.
I don't think
No,
you said-
look at
I
it
don't-
again.
I don't think he said no.
What I said is, I said if you're not hurting for the money, $120 is $120. And Dan said, "Well, I know my Eagles and how they are against Philly," and he said, "I'd do whatever." I
Forgot what you said, but he basically said he knows his boys. He take them.
So what I said was, I think Seattle's going to win straight up, but the risk reward, I would just keep the bet.
Well, that's what I said. It was only
Yeah.
$120, so you could.
But in that same text, I said Seattle was going to win.
he did right after it.
Yeah.
Like we were almost texting at the same time.
Yeah.
But it was only $120.
That's why I said,
$120.
That's why I asked you if you
Yeah.
didn't need it. I'm the kind of $100. I can spend $100 leaving here going home. You know what I mean?
and that's why I said it's worth the risk
Now if you'd
reward.
been like 250, if you were already at 250 or something, now I'd be like, bang, take it out. You're there, why?
100%.
And you only had $25 in, I'd be like, bang, take it out.
That was my whole thing. So Seattle 20, Philadelphia 17. Drew Lock 22, or what were they calling him? Horsecock Lock, 22 of 33 for 208 and a touchdown. That touchdown was a game-winning touchdown pass with 28 seconds left. Which, okay, I was following this game not only for the Eagles. I'm an Eagles fan. I was following it for my nephew, Dave's son, was in the. He basically had to win X amount of games, and the guy who was above him in the fantasy standings had to lose 4 straight. He was losing. The person he was against had Metcalf and DeAndre Swift, and he had to put in Drew Lock to this. Did you see this?
He was up 10 points.
He was up 10 against Swift and Metcalf, and as they're driving down the field, he's throwing to Metcalf to give the other person the lead.
Oh, just picking the field apart too. Bang, 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 bang.
And he was down by like 3. I'm like, okay, so he's eliminated if he throws to Metcalf.
Yeah.
And he threw a fucking touchdown to some other dude. and Jigba,
Jigba,
and he made the playoffs on a last-second touchdown.
Insane.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll put that in, but it's just insanity to like. It was wild. Metcalf, 1 catch through the first 3 quarters, but ended with 5 for 78, and I think most of it was on that final drive. Philly's 3rd straight loss, which very well could have been 5 because they had comeback wins against both the Chiefs and the Bills back-to-back in tight games. Philly led 10-3 at halftime, only 7 points in the second half. They were shut out in the fourth, of course. My dude Jalen Hurts, 17 of 31 for $143 and two interceptions. Dare mention Joe Flacco is great on the deep ball. This guy is not. Both interceptions were on deep balls picked off by the same defender. They kept showing the replay on the second pick, which ended the game. And I was like, it's an interception. What are we doing?
They were saying he was out of bounds. He clearly both.
Honestly, that was like rubbing salt in the wound watching that. Oh, is he in? Oh, is he in?
Yeah.
Oh, yes!
Tap.
Let's go. I lost. Go.
Yeah, and not to mention the right before that second interception, Jalen Hurts, because it's kind of the only thing he can do, he broke the pocket and ran for like 20 yards to get him like within throwing distance of field goal range. And then the next thing is to throw a deep ball
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
with 2 timeouts.
Yeah, 10 and out, or
you have 2 timeouts. Get the ball down the field a little more.
I thought the defense looked better up until that last drive. They have Matt Patricia as the defensive coordinator now. They got rid of whatever the guy's name was, who's shit. 82 rushing yards for Hurts with 2 TDs, 1 on a sneak and 1 on an empty draw. So there's one thing I was watching the Manning cast because I can't stand Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. So I was watching the Manning cast and they had Christian McCaffrey on. And did you guys ever watch the Manning cast?
yeah, I did not this week, but I have.
Okay. So whenever they have someone on, they guess how they're going to score, and they have like a board of people who guess correctly. And Christian McCaffrey was basically, they got down to the red zone, and he goes, well, I think it's going to be a fade. No. He started to say anything that was a pass, and then he's like, no, it's going to be a run. That's the only way they can get in, essentially. So, which he's right. I mean, not only is Hurts bad at the deep ball, he's bad at red zone offense. Because what is the thing that you need to score in the red zone? You need to understand what the defense is doing, and you need to be accurate. You have to be accurate. Michael Vick, loved the guy to death. He was horrible in the red zone because he was accurate, but he couldn't read the defense. You need to have both things. That's why, Brady, Manning, all these guys are so good, is because they can read the defense. It's hard to watch, truly. And they gave this bozo a max contract, and it's going to be years of this, Philly fan. I hope you're ready. And my question to you guys, so the offense is boring and stale. They attempted some new wrinkles, including a speed option, but the speed option was to the tight end. Did you see that one? Do you know what the option? So they're running together. He does a pitch, and it was to Dallas Goedert rather than DeAndre Swift.
He left Goddard out to dry a couple times.
He left Swift out to dry, and we were texting. Imagine if that was Patrick Willis and this was 2010. Both those guys would be in the ER right now. Can we stop pretending? A lot of people were pretending for the last couple months that Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate. Can we stop now? Who wants to go first? I'm asking you guys.
I mean, I love how every week, since the beginning of the season, every week they'd come out and say, we're not playing our best football. We don't need to play our best football until we get to the playoffs. We haven't seen it yet. I think this is what it is. They play mediocre through every single game and somehow pull out the win. Well, now they're getting exposed, and they're not coming out with the win. Still playing mediocre, but not winning. Is he an MVP candidate? No. MVP? No. I didn't say that when we were talking about it last week. He didn't even come up in the conversation.
No MVP, but is he good enough to win him a Super Bowl? You don't think so? You don't think if they use a Josh Allen formula, don't make him do so much, don't make him run for 100 yards while he's hurt, use your elite back and take some pressure off him. You know what I mean? The guy, yeah, he looks like crap, but you got to take some of the pressure off him. You got to do the same thing as Allen. He is not the guy. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not. You cannot put the ball in his hands all the time. You have studs around you. A.J. Brown. What are you doing? One of the best receivers in the league. What are you doing? The guy, jump ball all day. Jump ball. Guy will dime anybody in the league. I don't get it. He's not the guy you can give the ball to all the time. He cannot control the whole game.
But
Run the ball.
with AJ Brown though, you got to get it in his area for him to be able to catch it.
True. Well, don't do it 50 yards down the field. How
Right.
about some 10,
12,
15,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But run the ball with Swift, please, for the love of God. Not just because I have him in fantasy. Run the damn ball, please.
So the reason that they beat Buffalo is that they came out in the second half and they ran all over Buffalo. The first play was like a 48-yard run by Swift, and
Swift looked amazing.
there's something to be said about me sitting on the couch watching this, and I can see that Hurts can't throw, but the Eagles staff that sees him every day, maybe this dude is a fucking stud in practice, and he's just dotting all over the place. I don't get it. If they ran 37 times to Swift and they threw only 15, if he had Josh Allen numbers against the Cowboys and Swift was running like, or at least they attempted to have Swift run like James Cook, I could have accepted the loss like that. This dude is hard to watch. He leads the league in turnovers. And we were talking about MVP, not we at this table, but he was on the MVP graphic. Are you kidding me? This is
He's still what, top 5 in MVP race?
He's
He's
a
still in the race.
quarterback. I mean, he's not terrible. It just he's not the guy that's going to control the whole game for you. You need to run the ball, plain and simple.
You know what's funny is in practice he plays against his defense. The way
Like, all right, the cameras are watching. Let's make them look good. The cameras are watching.
No, not that, because the defense is so bad.
Oh, nice. Yeah, got you.
And these guys will vouch for me. There's a lot of people saying, oh, now Philly fans hating on Jalen Hurts. These guys will vouch for me. I've been saying
Almost
it
day one.
all along. This guy cannot throw.
We were saying, Dan, he's good, Dan. We're
I'm like, he's in the Super Bowl. What's the problem?
Yeah.
Thank you.
He wasn't buying it. He
No,
definitely wasn't.
not for 1 second. But Seattle, on the other hand, Drew Lock, I feel good for the kid because he's been through a lot. He was kind of a throwaway in the Russell Wilson trade, and he got a little teared up after the game because he was, and he didn't even know he was going to start. So I feel really good for him. But there's something also to be said about Pete Carroll, because this dude, he's one of the best coaches in the league.
Agreed.
He took Geno Smith from nothing and put him in. Geno Smith was in the MVP conversation last year, and Drew Lock looks solid. I mean, he 66% passing and a game-winning touchdown. I would take that all day for my backup.
Speaking of Pete Carroll, he is 8-0 versus the Eagles all time.
He's 9-3 since '98, I think it said.
Oh, is it? Is it 9-3?
9-3 since '98.
Oh, okay. And another Jalen Hurts stat is he was, in the fourth quarter, 2 completions, 25 yards.
When it mattered most. So, yeah.
Say it, and we can say it again. Seattle, nobody wants to see this team in the playoffs. We can say it every week.
The good news, though, is that it won't be in Seattle because San Francisco locked the division up. Because Seattle, and I that was a stat I used last week, was that Philly never beat Seattle. When Philly won the Super Bowl and they were hands down the best team, they lost to Kansas City with Alex Smith in Kansas City, and they lost to Seattle in Seattle when they were the best team with Carson Wentz at pure prime. There's a throw. Go check that out in this game. It's from Eagles Seahawks 2017. It was what Wentz was, and I don't want to get into the Wentz thing. I feel so bad every time I talk about him. But Philly's last 3 games should be all wins. Should be. Giants, Arizona at home, importantly. I think if they were in Arizona, that'd be a lot tougher game than it needs to be. And then at Giants. So Giants, Cardinals, Giants. And then Seattle has Tennessee in Tennessee, and then 2 home games against Pitt and Arizona. So I think Seattle's going to win out, and they're going to get into the playoffs. But they'll be on the road as like a 7 or 6 seed. So, but that's it. Those are our recaps. Let us know what you think. Hold on. Thanks for watching. Please share with a buddy who likes sports and guys arguing about the Eagles.